Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was informative and then engaging. Jai, I think we're going to hear a whole lot more of you as time goes on, and you are one of the examples that I talk about in looking into things differently, taking things out of our hearts and our minds and looking into things differently. All right, we got to move along because, ooh, look at this. From strategy to impact, the role of influencers in civic engagement. I happen to know one of them really well. I'm her mentor. Had no idea she was going to be here. This session explores the collaboration between TYP, a social media company, and Every Voice, Every Vote, including the partnership's goals. Presenters will share actionable strategies for working with influencers and leveraging social media to maximize impact. I'm going to invite Antoinette Talley to come to the stage, and then she'll bring the other two. Come on, Antoinette. You ready? Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. And then after that, we have lunch.
Okay, I'll be quick for lunch. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm excited to showcase this partnership that I have had with the Every Voice, Every Vote campaign, TYP Social Media Co., from strategy to impact, the role of influencers in civic engagement. So I'll give you a little overview of Every Voice, Every Vote. It is a citywide coalition building stronger connections among media outlets, community organizations, residents, and elected officials to encourage civic engagement, raise issues, and track progress over time. But at the core, they really want to make sure that Philly residents are heard, engaged, held accountable, and that they can take action when it comes to their civic engagement. A little bit about TYP. So I'm the founder and digital strategist at TYP Social Media Co. And at the core, we help small businesses, influencers, anybody that needs help online to influence and inspire their audiences. And the reason I say influence and inspire is because, we've heard people buy from those that they like and trust, right? And that's the same with social media. So we try to help them influence and inspire them so that at the end of the day, when they're ready for that call to action, they need them to click, they need them to buy. We've already done the work and they trust that company, they trust that influencer, they trust that brand to take the next step. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in this campaign as well. Okay. So what did we do? Every Voice, Every Vote came to us and said, hey, we have this ambassador campaign and we need help with getting to know what Philly residents care most about when it comes to what's happening around the election. So we started off with ambassador recruitment and onboarding. We also helped create a toolkit for the ambassadors to use so that they knew what to post, how to post it, the calls to action, and how to report on the campaign as well. Then we also went through and made sure that we were in the weeds of reviewing the content and approving the content to make sure that it was good for social. Community management, so the influencers did have a little community that they could connect with each other with. And then also just general consulting on the campaign. Oh, I went back. There we go. And again, the goal was really to make sure that Philly residents were heard, engaged, accountable, and that they took action. So we asked the ambassadors to survey their audience, and we wanted to know how the Philly residents felt about public safety, education, economic opportunities, affordable housing, homelessness, and clean and green streets. So at the core, we just wanted to know how they felt about these topics. So we started off with our search, and we literally just talked about this in the last panel. How did we find these influencers? Well, what did we want to look for at first? We needed influencers who were engaged or had engagement in their audiences. They were diverse, so they reflected what the city of Philadelphia looked like. And also, was their content an easy fit, right? So the influencer may be a Philly foodie influencer, but will the Every Voice, Every Vote campaign fit within their content as well? And yes, it is possible to do that, some more than others. So we wanted to make sure that if the influencer was gonna post, will their audience receive that very well based off of what they're already posting? And we did this mostly through manual research, going through profiles, seeing what they were posting before, seeing who's out there. Because people can have a big following, but I'm gonna let you know a little secret. They can have a big following and not have very much engagement. And in fact, those smaller influencers tend to have the best engagement out of anyone. The bigger the audience, the less the engagement typically, unless we're talking about superstar level, right? So we were looking for people that did have that engagement through the manual research. If they have 100,000 people following them, let's make sure they're not getting one like on the picture that they post, right? We also got a lot of referrals. So people who were in the program in the past, can we use them again? But also, did they have people in their network that might be a good fit for this program? Like Danya said, the algorithms, tricking them to bring people to us. And then somewhere, a little bit of software here and there. So throughout the past 2 pulses that we did, we had engaged 13 ambassadors of all different races, culture, ethnicities, and gender. And like I had mentioned before, we wanted to do a range of influencer sizes. So a lot of nano influencers, which is someone who has 1 in 10,000 followers. Some micro influencers, who are people who have a following of 10 to 50,000, and mid-tier influencers who are anywhere between 50 and 500,000 followers. Most importantly, they had to be in the Philadelphia area because we wanted to make sure that we knew that their following were also Philadelphia residents that would fill out the surveys and that would have an opinion on what was going on with the city. So that was the most important thing. Because a lot of times you can be a Philly influencer, but your audience is somewhere in California. That can happen. This is just an example of some of the content that the ambassadors had. A lot of them use stories for their content. Now, the first pulse, I'll give you a little bit of background on that. It was 2 parts. The first part was to ask your audience what they felt about those topics that I spoke about earlier. And many of them used polls and they used their stories. And you'll also see that there was very video heavy as well. We find that sometimes things that live on the feed don't get as much engagement as they do on the stories when it comes to Instagram. So a lot of them decided to use the story portion. But the first part of the ask was to just get an idea of what they cared most about. The second side to that was once we heard what was most important to them, we asked them to share resources to their audiences based off of what that feedback was. And I'll talk about that in a second. And here's just another look at some of the influencers' content that they created. So with those 13 ambassadors, we were able to reach 238,000 people, and our impressions were 305,000, with a total of 31 posts. And those resources that I talked about, let's just say someone said that they cared about public safety. We asked the ambassadors to do a part 2 and share the Committee of 70's voter guide and the Every Voice, Every Vote resource webpage to give them more information about how they can make an impact, knowing that public safety was the thing that they cared about most. It also had resources about what was on the ballot, how to create your vote plan, dates that were very important to voting. So it wasn't just a, hey, we want to know, but also here's what you can do, the accountable part, the take action part of Every Voice, Every Vote. So we did have some barriers and challenges. Number 1 was the multi-step part of Pulse 1, right? So just posting part 1 and then posting part 2. Sometimes that can be a little bit cumbersome for the influencer, and we really need things to be straightforward. But also, sometimes the audience just did not connect that what they said on post 1 is related to post 2, and we don't even know if someone who replied to post 1 even sees post 2, just based off of algorithms. So in the next post, we changed that a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a second. We also did not have ownership of those responses. The influencers or ambassadors just told us, hey, most of my people cared about this topic. Most of my people cared about education. Most of my people cared about homelessness. So we did not have ownership of that data or who those people are. And I know with social media, you don't own those platforms. If Instagram goes away tomorrow, you have lost your whole audience if you do not have record of them somewhere else. And there is a very real challenge of trying to get those people off social media into your newsletters, into your databases, onto your websites. But what can we do to get more people on the Every Voice, Every Vote webpage? What can we do to get them on their newsletter? So that way we have ownership of that data, but I encourage everybody on your platforms. I know it's hard, but try and get them somewhere else in case Instagram, Meta, X, whoever it is, decides to just implode one day. I mean, we also did this in the midst of a TikTok ban, so that was a very real challenge as well. And that's what number 3, social media diversity. We had a lot of Instagram users when we really would have loved to use TikTok, but TikTok was banned at the time. And then for the next pulse, we did not know if TikTok was still gonna stick around. And we kind of don't know what's happening right there either way. So that was the biggest barriers and challenges that we had. So what worked? What we did for Pulse 2 is that we just required one piece of content. We said, hey, just tell people to fill out a survey. We want to know what they care about most, just like the last time, but let's point them to a website to have them fill out a form that collects their name, their age, demographics, all of those good things, and then also their email addresses, just in case they want to stay on the Every Voice, Every Vote newsletter list, right? And the great thing about that is that we were able to add people to the newsletter list. And in order to get them to take that extra step, because that is the hardest part, we did offer each ambassador to give away a $100 gift card to a local Philly business as an incentive. So someone won from each influencer. We also worked on our ambassador selection process. So we cherry picked a couple more. I'm gonna say something very real. There's a difference between a content creator and a true influencer. And a lot of times we interchange those words and say they're the same thing, but just because you're making content, that does not mean you have true influence over your audience. So we noticed that with some of the responses, we had some people that just were content creators, and that's okay. We took a gamble. So how can we choose other influencers that would make more of an impact for this campaign? We also did a private group chat for the ambassadors so that way they can connect with one another should they want to. And I already talked about the survey link and finding the gaps in the ambassadors. So this is just an example. We created just a really quick web page that they could go on to fill out that survey. Very easy, very simple, with a bit.ly link that people can put in their bio really quickly. And that's how the audiences could take the survey. And this is a sample of those survey responses. The great thing about that is that the people did not just have to go in the comments and say, I care about one thing. They could go into the survey and they can tell us how they feel about every topic. So how do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10 about public safety in Philadelphia? And so we were able to get their answers on every topic rather than just one. And the great thing about that too is everything's automated. Once they filled out the survey, there was no point in having a part 2 for the influencers. It spit them directly into a list of resources. So that 70 Committers Voter Guide, as well as the Every Voice, Every Vote landing page, was right there for them to click on so that they could instantly get the voter resources that they needed in real time. And then we also were able to find out exactly what they cared about and how they could be more civically engaged, which is very, very important, right? So some people said, hey, we need more resources in Spanish. We need better educational campaigns, and we need additional community events, so that way we know what's going on in the city. So we got a lot more information out of Pulse 2 than we did with Pulse 1, with just those simple changes that really are just cost effective as well. And again, my key takeaway is when content creation meets true influence, impact is truly made. And now, I would love to invite thank you. I would love to introduce you to 2 of the ambassadors from the Every Voice, Every Vote campaign. We have McGinnis-Storr and Elaine Johnson with us today, and we're gonna have a small conversation with them. Thank you. Okay, Toy, can I start with you?
Sure.
Can you introduce yourself and then tell us why you felt the Every Voice, Every Vote campaign was a great fit for you?
Sure. Again, my name is Toy. It's actually LaToi, but I go by Toy. I have been a writer for over 10 years with my blog as well as a freelance writer. And from there, because social media has changed, then I ended up being more of a content creator as well as an influencer, which did not happen overnight from my perspective. And so when I worked with Every Voice, Every Vote, the reason was very simple. I already was creating content about politics. I was already creating content about what was happening in Philly, whether it was social events, but as well as important events. And so when they reached out to me, it made sense because I didn't feel like I had to go out of my way to create content for you. It was very natural flow. I was able to just go straight into, okay, this is just a different platform. This is a different organization that I'm working with versus trying to force myself to create content that wouldn't fit.
Awesome. Elaine, same question.
Hey everybody! I figured I would zhuzh up the room. My name is Elaine Gonzalez-Johnson. I am the proud founder of an organization called Latinas in Motion, so most people know me for that. But I started this brand called Mogul Mami because I'm a mother of two. I'm a wife. I tell everybody I am crazy in love like Beyonce, okay? But I am also a creative. And so most people I talk to, they're like, surely you can't do it all. You can't be a mother and be a businesswoman. You can't have a great marriage and make money. And I'm like, I'm about to show y'all how I do this thing, okay? And so I absolutely love sharing my experiences on social media. So when I was approached about this opportunity, I am Puerto Rican. I don't know if you noticed that by the accent. But my parents were born on the island. And what a lot of people don't know is that when you are Puerto Rican born on the island, you are not allowed to vote for a president. So even though they came to Philadelphia, and I'm Philly born and raised, that area of or desire of civic engagement just wasn't there. You know, they didn't want to teach us because they felt like they didn't have a voice. So then you take little old me, okay, educated John from North Philly. I'm like, ooh, I have a voice and I want to share. So when I was approached with this opportunity, it just fits so well because I have a desire not only to help Latinos, but my community understand that their voice actually matters. So it was a yes for me.
Awesome. And shameless plug, if you could take out your phone right now and follow Voice Vote Philly, please do so. 2 snaps. And there is a pulse poll going on right now, so you please take that pulse if you are a Philadelphia resident. Okay. Toy, back to you. You mentioned that engaging your audience on important Philadelphia issues was a natural progression for you. How have you built trust with your followers to discuss civic engagement?
I honestly feel like a lot of my content is extremely authentic. I come to you just as well as I'm sitting here on this stage. It's the same as online. And I'm going to share the things that are happening in the civic world and letting people know what they need to be more engaged with as far as what's going on, what are the things that are failing, what are the things that are being successful. And I have no problem, as a shameful plug, I will go onto different journalist pages and different news organizations, slide right into the comments. You'll see somebody complaining and saying, I am so sick of Philadelphia in this topic. And I'll say, well, did you know that there are resources for you in this particular conversation? And it's because that is how you reach people. And people came from that comment back to my page where I then provided those resources. And I feel like interchanging that information and asking the questions and being able to say, hey, did you know about this? Because a lot of people just don't know. And what you don't know, you'll continue to have conversations online where we're fighting in the comment section for our life, but then it's like, I need you to take that conversation from online and engage in a way that will help you and your family.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Elaine, what strategies did you use to get information from your following? Was it polls, anything other that you used? Let us know what that was.
So for my audience, I really try to poll them and listen and be authentic. Mm-hmm. People can read fake from a mile away. And when you're just so real and you're you, can't nobody do you the way you do you. You are the sauce. And so I go on my little Instagram, Elaine_G_Johnson, and I just share who I am and what matters to me, and literally ask my audience, what matters to you? So the poll was definitely my go-to, but definitely having conversations, keeping the conversation going, because a lot of people, or my audience, I'll say, are afraid to share their stance on being civically engaged. A lot of that comes with shame or not knowing. And so I love the fact that in this program, you were able to give us all the resources we needed to direct our audience, and this is where you get your answers, so that we would still be, bipartisan. I know that was a question before. And here's the information, you figure that out, and you come to your own conclusion.
Right. Toi, what strategies did you use?
Again, I'm going to slide right into the comment section. Also, too, I do like these car chronicles in my stories where I'm talking about different things that are happening. If the mayor made an announcement about anything and I'm saying, hey, did you know this was happening? And give them the tools to say, go to this site and find out more information. But hey, this is affecting you. This may be affecting you in this way or that way. So the car chronicles help. I also have a podcast, so I'm taking the conversations from social media as far as videos and reels, and then also translating that into the podcast, also translated that to my own website to give people other information to reach a broader scale of people.
Okay, I'm going to ask an off-brand question, but what strategies do you have for engagement to get people to engage more?
Again, being yourself is going to be key. Also, asking questions, like for instance, tomorrow we know it's No King's Day. If you don't know, that is happening. And so today I made a video just straight to the point of, hey, these are some wellness tips that you can use as you're preparing to go out and protest. Nothing hard, nothing, strenuous, just 4 or 5 tips that said, hey, here's what you need to be aware of when you're going out tomorrow. And again, it wasn't about a campaign. It was just like, this is information that people may need to know. So I'm always going to be quick on if there's something happening, finding a way to see where people are having those issues. So again, those comments that people are making, you get your content almost straight from there. So therefore, I don't have to make up content. The content will come to me.
What about you, Elaine?
I think for me, I know Sherry said this earlier, but just being very transparent, but having a good cadence in what content I'm producing. Sometimes I am going to entertain and make you laugh. Sometimes I am going to educate, but making sure that above all else, I'm myself and it feels natural to me to share these things. So I think that when my audience would see that, they would engage with the content. And then strategy. Like, I realized that my audience loves to see a video of me and my boo. So then I would tell my husband, like, listen, we got to make a video together about the civic engagement because it's going to really pop off, right? So when you realize that your audience is telling you what they like, and they do that by likes and commenting on what it is, success leaves clues. Sometimes we make the job harder for ourselves. So when I seen that, oh, y'all like videos of me and my boo? Okay, come on, Dr. Johnson, let's come talk about this civic engagement here. And that content really did really well.
Nice. And for the both of you, do you remember what your audience cared most about for the campaign? Which topic?
Yes, for mine, it was violence.
Violence.
It was violence.
And for mine, it was education.
Education. And last question before we take questions from the audience. How did you two decide which platforms you wanted to use to create content? What's your favorite, I should say?
I think somebody said earlier today, I think Jai said it, I will refurbish content by taking one from one platform to the other. My go-to is going to be Instagram first, and then TikTok.
Nice.
Toi, we Instagram girlies. I love Instagram. I do love Facebook as well, but Instagram is definitely my go-to.
Awesome. Okay, thank you two very much. Do we have questions from the audience? Yeah? We have one right here. Who got the-
Charles, I think you got it first over there.
Yeah, hi, Chino from smallbizphilly.com. I hope this question is relevant. Do any of you guys use Pinterest to drive traffic to your website?
Not only am I on Pinterest, I'm also in a cohort with Pinterest as well. So
You're a
I
what?
will cross-reference a lot of things from my other social media platforms right back to Pinterest.
Nice.
I'm not on Pinterest. Did I lose points for that?
Yeah, you lose cool points. But I'll be sure to follow you on IG. How about Tumblr? That's my last question.
No, not Tumblr as much.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies. I think everybody knows who I am by now, so I don't think I need to introduce myself anymore. But my question, I know you talked about the selection process for like partnering with influencers and content creators, but do you ever partner with somebody that has less than 1,000 followers for their social media? Because I mean, I know a lot of you in this room, and I do what I can to post my own content as well as, amplify the voices of all of my clients. So where does it leave me when I have less than like 100 followers, at least on my YouTube?
Okay, so I would suggest that yes, you probably should work on, and this is just for in general, work on getting to at least 1,000 for any brand partnerships or collaboration opportunities, because that is very important. But also just make your case depending on whatever the campaign is. Say, I do know this about my community, and I'm super visible, I'm super focused, and I know I can get you the results that you're asking for. If you know what their results are, what they're looking for, and you can directly say that I can get that result, that should help you out a lot too. Yeah.
I just want to say my first brand deal was with 500 followers. And I did exactly what you just said. I literally went and I pitched myself to whatever the company was, and I showed them how I had high engagement with even a smaller number. So it is possible, but 1,000 is probably the threshold.
Any other questions?
I do. First of all, I learned a lot from you ladies for this panel, so thank you. I wanted to sort of, you touched upon the difference between influencers and content producers. Could you elaborate a little bit about that? And then I wanted to hear from both of you sort of the intentionality behind the influence part and when you knew that you weren't just a content producer, but you were actually, persuading people to take action or do certain things. And so thank you.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you just said. A content creator who can persuade their audience to take the next step is right. How do you know? If you are able to get them to click the link in your bio, if you are able to get them to make a comment, because that's the hardest part. I think the first step is even getting them to like, right? That's where you get into people who have large followings, but no one is actually liking their pictures. That's when you know you have true influence. But when you can get to the point where you can have the power to take someone off the platform and do whatever you want, that's when you know you got the keys, you got the zhuzh to continue being like an influencer. Can you get them on your like to know it and buy whatever outfit you're wearing for the day? Can you get them to click on your news article? Can you get them to go on your Amazon storefront and put money back in your pocket? That's when you know you're a true influencer. And all influencers are content creators. It just takes a little work to get to that influence part. Yeah.
So for me, I did not focus on the becoming the influencer part, and so I think that helped in a way because I focused on getting good content. And because of that, it became a natural progression. And how I personally knew that I had crossed over was I would see people that would see me at a local event or a bar, and they would say, because you presented the information a certain way, I really enjoyed that. So then that was my ticket to know to continue to make videos or however I was making them to reach that same type of audience. And from there, I can now go and have somebody come into my Amazon or whatever it is that they're trying to purchase or buy and or influence them for, again, this organization and how we ask the questions is I knew that they would do it because I came and didn't put so much pressure on myself to become an influencer.
For me, I think Danya hit on this on the last panel, but she had said, like, we're looking for people who enjoy being social, right? Being on camera. And social storytelling has always been my thing before I started getting paid for content, right? And I think for me, I'm a community organizer at heart. So when I knew I had something was when I created Latinas in Motion, and I took this thing from my idea to 5,000 women. Clearly, there's some influence there, not knowing that I could attach dollars and content to it, but also being myself. I think being a woman of color, being a woman, oftentimes people will say, like, you have a really big personality and you do too much. But I would get around people and mentors, shout out to my mentor, Andrea, who told me, be loud, be you, take up space, don't you dare shrink. And I took that same energy to all of my socials. And what I realized is that people can't be what they can't see. So now you take me, a Puerto Rican girl from North Philadelphia, who has a full-time job, a healthy marriage, 2 kids, and I truly run these streets in real life. Other girls can look at me and be like, yo, if Elaine could do it, I could too. And that's the purpose and mission behind why I do what I do. That's why I attach myself to this post with Antoinette and Every Voice, Every Vote. I believe in it. I believe in it. And if I have the opportunity to share something and say something, I'm going to say something.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something she said as well. Being in these streets is real. A lot of people who have large followings, they are actually making connections in person, in real life, in real time. And I think people often miss that part. It's just like when you're trying to promote a business. Social media is not going to get you all of the clicks and all of the buys. You do have to do the business development behind the scenes and grow your in-person network to grow online as well.
Hi, I just want to build on what Cherry was asking. So as someone who runs a newsroom, how do I determine or differentiate between the content creator and the influencer? What are the things that I should be looking for to make sure that I'm getting the one that I want?
The bang for your buck. You want to make sure you're looking at their analytics. So I would never hire an influencer who can't produce analytics, or that you haven't gotten a referral from, who, like, yeah, I know I've worked with this person and they got XYZ from me, but you want to check their engagement rate. Is it high? Is it low? Are people responding in the comments? Are people liking their content? And I think that's where you're going to know who has true influence, and they can report that back to you.
I have a super quick question. I'm Jim from the Lenfest Institute. I'm not sure there's a short answer, but some of the biggest social media influencers on earth are people in power. And my question is, how can you and we as news people and as content creators and as influencers interact with people in power who have huge followings, comment on them negatively, positively, draft off of their audiences and their influence, collaborate when it's appropriate, criticize when it's appropriate? How do we rub up against them in a way that helps advance our cause?
Yeah, I will give a couple things, and I want you two to chime in too, because I think you probably know better than I do. But I think what you can do is create response content, especially with TikTok. Stitches are awesome for that. When you can piggyback off of what's going viral or what's happening with someone that's bigger than you and create a stitch or create a reply, that's great. Gary Vee has an awesome strategy where you leave $1.80 worth of comments a day on social media. So you take a hashtag or you take a topic, whatever it is, and if it's relatable to your business, brand, organization, you leave a comment, and each comment costs 2 cents, and you leave $1.80 worth per day. And that's how you can piggyback off of big brands. And then people will see you in the comments and reply back to you and want to know more about you and who you are as well. So I would say piggybacking the content and then also being engaging. I think the key that people miss is they post and ghost. They just post and then they walk away when you really need to post and engage on everything. But yeah, we're out of time, but really quickly.
Really quickly, if someone makes a comment on my page, I'm going to respond because they took the time to make the comment. And if they're doing that, I need to be responsive. And I also am a firm believer of a good stitch. I will see something that's happening and go back and stitch whatever is happening to my concerns. What do I think my opinion about something is? So both those tactics work. If somebody is responding to you, if you have a business page, if you have, even as a journalist, go in and respond back to them. Even if it's just simple as thank you, make sure that you respond.
Real quick, I'll just say light attracts light. I don't post anything negative. I don't engage with anything nasty on my personal social media, but I also don't spend too much time trying to engage in people who I think have power because I believe I have power. So I'm gonna do what I can with the power that I have.
Thank you all so much. And we're gonna take a selfie on the stage if you don't mind.